breaking news, and it is official. It was announced on his Instagram. Roki Sasaki heading to the Dodgers. According to Jeff Passing, Japanese star Roki Sasaki signed with the Los Angeles Dodgers. He announced on Instagram. I was not following Roki Sasaki on Instagram. I should have known better. My goodness, Shohei Ohtani, I think, did it last year. I mean, we all should have been following Roki Sasaki. My goodness. The 23-year-old right-hander with a sizzling fastball and deadly splitter joins Samurai Japan teammates Shohei Ohtani and Yoshinobu Yamamoto with the World Series champion Dodgers. Listen, at the end of the day, this is not surprising in the slightest. The Dodgers have been the front runner for what feels like 86 years now. Listen, hey, the Dodgers, man, we can get mad at them. We can get frustrated at, it seems like they just snap their fingers and they can get anyone they want, really. They've obviously had another great offseason here, back-to-back offseasons now. Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, last offseason, Teoscar Hernandez as well. This offseason, Blake Snell, Teoscar, and now landing Roki Sasaki, who could quite possibly be I think there's an argument that he could be the best pitcher on the planet at this point with how disgusting that guy is with the velo, with the stuff. Sure, he's going to have some growing pains in Major League Baseball, but it's, at the end of the day, man, we can hate on the Dodgers all you want. We can get frustrated at the process, with how they've been going about their business. But listen, you know what? One thing we can say here is, we can really look at the Dodgers' point of view here and say they did this without the money. They did this without having to throw a huge chunk of money at a guy. This was a recruiting process. This was basically, like a top athlete in the country, going from college to college, right? Roki Sasaki decided on the Dodgers because he felt that was the best environment for him to succeed, to develop as possibly one of the next great pitchers of Major League Baseball. This is not updated yet, but I've been talking about this for a little while with Roki. You look at the players that they have, obviously. It's a superstar squad, and obviously you have some comfort factors there with Shohei Ohtani, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Played a lot of ball with them growing up, right? But you look at the fact that the Dodgers, they have so much starting pitching depth, where if you think about Roki transitioning over to Major League Baseball at such a young age, 23 years old, you have to keep that in mind. That is something you got to think about there, where, he can really ease in to the major leagues this year, because you're going to have Blake Snell. You're going to have Yamamoto in year 2. And of course, I should have started off with Shohei Ohtani coming back into the rotation. That's going to be good for him as well. Now you have even more depth. So Ohtani, you can look at this and, say that's going to be a good thing for him too, right? Coming back from elbow surgery. And then, Tyler Glasnow, and that's going to be good for him too. The guy has had so many injuries over the past, all this depth for the Dodgers. Instead of looking at it from a point of view where, I see a lot of people say, Roki's going to go to the Dodgers, and, what's so good about the Dodgers player development? They are always, getting hurt over there. The pitchers are always getting injured. The elbows are always snapping off. Well, I think for the Dodgers, I think it's quite possible they looked at that situation and said, hey, you know what? Let's just get a bunch of guys in here, and then everyone can kind of handle the responsibilities, even more so. I mean, it looks like they're going to be going really with basically a 6-man rotation at this point, or at least they're going to be using that as much as possible. I mean, Ohtani, Snell, Yamamoto, Glasnow. Now you got Sasaki, and you still got other guys there, right? Gavin Stone, he's going to be out for the year after getting shoulder surgery. But you got Tony Gonsolin coming back, Dustin May coming back, right? I mean, you got a lot of young guys there. I think this is going to be good for the Padres, not good for the Padres. It's going to be good for the Dodgers. But then you look at, the other teams that were in the process here. You were thinking maybe there could be a shot for the Blue Jays, right? It seemed like, they made a move today with Miles Straw, trying to get a bit more international signing money. And, you were thinking maybe they were making a bit of a late push. And could that have been in the end, was that a last gasp kind of an attempt to try and throw some more money at Sasaki? Um, possibly, maybe, but in the end, I just think Sasaki, man, he chose the best environment for him. He chose, hey, I mean, listen, what else is there to say? It's not really all that surprising in the end. We feel like we've kind of known this for a long time now. You kind of go back to where we've seen reports in the past, right? We've seen these little tidbits out there saying that he was pretty much going to the Dodgers months ago. Maybe this was already in the works for over a year. But then, you had his agent, Joel Wolf, come out and say, oh, no, that's all bogus. No, there is absolutely the possibility that, a smaller market team could be of interest to him, even a small market team. I was kind of looking at all the different possible scenarios out there when it came to small market teams. And, I thought there could be some good destinations, but when you really look at everything on the table, when you look at all the depth the Dodgers have, the success they have, the Ohtani Yamamoto factor, right now the Dodgers right now are they're at a different level right now. This really reminds me, and I've already said this in the past, this is not anything new, but you look at in the past with the Yankees, right? It felt like at one point, the New York Yankees, the evil empire, they were getting anyone they wanted. You go back to, 2004, right? You're bringing in guys like Gary Sheffield, and then A-Rod on top of that, right? It just seemed like the Yankees could do no wrong at that point. And it feels like the Dodgers have already surpassed that. It has that feeling and then some. This team is ridiculous. Again, I'm not really sure what else to say. It's kind of, there it is, Roki Sasaki in the rotation. How insane is that Roki Sasaki is now listed as the number 5 in this rotation? That's insane. Absolutely insane. But we all saw what Yamamoto went through this year. He definitely took his bumps. He had to take a little bit of time off there because of a shoulder injury at one point, ended up coming back for the postseason and was, got very good in the postseason. And, minus that first start there. But, I think this is going to be good there. You saw Yamamoto have to take his bumps this year. And I think with Roki, this is going to be a great situation for him. I'm seeing a lot of people here in the chat. If you can, everyone, just hit that like button for me. I would love to get to 200 likes by the end of this stream. That would be amazing. But, kind of taking a look here at the teams, looking at the fallout of Sasaki here. The Sasaki sweepstakes, right? The Toronto Blue Jays, it looked like they had some hope, maybe. You had the factor where, an old teammate of his in Japan who's working in the front office for the Blue Jays now. It looked like, maybe that could have been something there. But in the end, the Blue Jays, hey, they took a swing. They made it to the end once again, just like they did last year with Shohei Ohtani. And, hey, in the end, now we got to wait and see if the Blue Jays can capitalize on some other guys out there like Pete Alonso, maybe Anthony Santander. Those guys have been connected with the Blue Jays heavily here. Santander, not so much lately, but Pete Alonso definitely on the radar for the Blue Jays. So let's see if they can capitalize. That would have been very nice for Toronto to land Sasaki, especially after they have been having a tough offseason. Their best acquisition, Jeff Hoffman, came off of 2 flagged physicals with both the Orioles and the Braves. It would have been, nice after all these misses the Blue Jays have been having, and then their top signing so far, has some question marks. It would have been great for the Blue Jays to get this done, but in the end, it is what it is. I thought the Blue Jays could have been a solid landing spot, right? Great Japanese community over there in Toronto. And, they've done very, say what you will about their success in the playoffs over the last few years, but they've had some great pitching over the last few years here, minus the bullpen last year. Starting pitching has been very good. It would have been great to get Sasaki, especially, with Kevin Gausman coming up on that contract here in the next couple of years. Would have been very nice there. But in the end, it is what it is. You got to worry about the Padres. It's going to be interesting, right? Well, the Padres, it was announced this morning that they were pretty much out of it. And it was really pretty much down to the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. But, you kind of wonder about the Padres now. What's going to happen here? There's something going on there, with the ownership. There's some turmoil going on. I don't think it's that as big of a deal as we all might look at it. It might seem like a doomsday kind of a thing. Oh my goodness, ownership. What's going on here? Oh, this front office, it's completely just going crazy right now. But no, I think really that's going to work itself out. But you got to wonder about the Padres, when it comes to, all the payroll concerns they've had over the last couple of years now. What are they going to do here? They're not spending money. Could this maybe, now that Sasaki, they're obviously officially out of the Sasaki sweepstakes now, what's their plan moving forward? Were they waiting for Sasaki to, try and get this done? Or, do they feel like now they can turn towards the free agent market and maybe they can start trying to make some moves? But again, you look at the payroll, you wonder what's going on, and I don't know. There's question marks in San Diego right now. Dylan Cease, he's been listed on the trade block here. He's going to be a free agent after next year. He's a Scott Boras client, so not really sure what's going to happen with him, but he could definitely be a guy where, just like Juan Soto last offseason, they can move him, get back some guys. It worked last year with Juan Soto, getting back Michael King in the process. So maybe they could do something similar here with Dylan Cease. But, also, you go back, how many times have we seen where a team has a player or a player that used to be with them, and you hear so much about how they could be a pretty strong influence, right? Yu Darvish was being labeled as this godfather figure with San Diego. And, and people were thinking, okay, maybe there could be something there. And I thought maybe that too, right? He's got a close relationship with Yu Darvish. Would have been a great mentorship there as Sasaki came into the league. But in the end, it really wasn't that big of a deal. You saw the same thing, with the Juan Soto sweepstakes. A lot of people were thinking, maybe the Red Sox, they have a real shot because they got David Ortiz. David Ortiz, he's close with Juan Soto, close with the family. They live in the same, complex over in the Dominican Republic, but really in the end, these players, it doesn't really seem to have that much of an effect. Sure, I guess, there's probably been, some cases over the past, but you see these big time, high profile guys, and that doesn't really seem to have any kind of an effect. Here we go. Super chat coming in. Hybrid Shadow $9.99. Got to give credit to the Dodgers, man. That organization are just playing 4D chess there, getting their hands on the right card and playing it smart. Insane. Also, love the channel, Robbie. Hybrid Shadow, thank you so much. Appreciate the $10 super chat, my friend. Really. I mean, listen, give all the credit to the Dodgers. You can't use the money thing here. You can't. You could say, the Dodgers, they're just, they got all the, they don't care about throwing money around. They're going to defer all the money. This is ridiculous, yada, yada, yada. But this had nothing to do with the money. This was a complete recruiting process based off of the environment, based off of what the Dodgers have been doing over the last couple of years. This was pretty much a college recruiting process, right? If you were to compare it to something, it's like, top quarterback prospect out of high school choosing to go to, Alabama or whatever it may be, So that's the Dodgers. You can't just say, that they're throwing money at everyone and they're deferring it. Well, no, they went out. They obviously they went at this and they had the best presentation in the end. They had the best product for Roki Sasaki in his mind. I do wonder, though, how long ago this, seemed to be done. I was told yesterday, either yesterday or a couple of days ago, I can't fully remember, but I was told that pretty much executives in the industry, it pretty much was a done thing. And another thing I had been told too was the Dodgers pretty much were assuming Roki was going to the Dodgers. I wasn't going to put that out there because you never know, things can change. But I was told that in the last couple of days that the Dodgers pretty much assumed that Roki was going to be going to them. I'd love to see, some more fallout of this. I'd love to see, how involved were the Blue Jays here? How much of a realistic chance did they have? That I think is interesting to pay attention to. I always love seeing those kind of stories coming out. Everyone, if you can, we're 12 likes away from 100. I would love to get to 200 likes. We're at 550 here in the chat. If you could help us out, that would be absolutely amazing. And if you are new, think about subscribing. We're trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by opening day. We're right at around 3,000 away. It's a lofty goal, but I would love to get there by opening day. But yeah, kind of going through, maybe, possibly some, let's see if anyone else out there is putting anything out. Again, we had the Jeff Passan saying, "I'm sorry, Toronto." My goodness. Ugh. Toronto, man, you gotta feel for him. You gotta feel for him here, because man. But in the end, I'm very intrigued to see what the Blue Jays do moving forward here. It does look like they could end up getting either Alonso or Santander, but let's say they don't. Like, what if something, for a team like Pete Alonso, what if a team for Pete Alonso comes out of nowhere? I had been told yesterday when it came to the Blue Jays and Alonso that there was something close. Who knows if anything, comes to fruition there. But I would love to see for a team like the Mariners possibly get involved, especially if it's a short-term deal. The Giants, I think, would be a great landing spot. We'd have Adames and Alonso and Chapman. That would be great. But let's say the Blue Jays don't land Pete Alonso. Let's say Santander ends up going somewhere else. What do the Blue Jays do? Because you got a roster here where, Kevin Gausman is within a couple of years of free agency. Chris Bassett, both those guys are not getting any younger. You got Vlad, obviously, coming up on free agency here. Are they going to be able to work out an extension? We had seen at some point that they were about $100 million apart. The latest news that we had gotten out of TSN in Toronto is that the Blue Jays offer was still under $400 million, but Vlad is looking for $450. They had a couple of different contracts supposedly on the table with different terms. I think one was a 10-year deal and another one that was an 11-year deal. I don't know, man. I just think for the Blue Jays at this point, what's going to happen with Alonso and Santander? If they don't land one of those guys, I think you could end up seeing the Blue Jays possibly making some moves here, especially now that Sasaki is off the board. I don't know. And I see you, Mr. Chicken. I love that name, Mr. Chicken. Honestly, the Jays should rebuild. I would say let's wait on what else they could possibly do in free agency here. But it's not out of the question to suggest that. And I'll be very honest. I see a lot of people say, "Oh, there's no way the Blue Jays trade Vlad." Well, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, you could hang on to him till the deadline, but a team out there would rather have a full season of Vlad than in a couple of months. You would rather have Vlad come to spring training with your team. So we saw it with Mookie Betts back in 2020 with the Red Sox. We saw it with Juan Soto with the Padres not too long ago, last offseason. We just saw it with Kyle Tucker. These guys where they're going to be getting, big contracts on the open market. And if you're not going to re-sign these guys, you got to move them. That in my, the Blue Jays, sure, I can commend them for saying, yeah, we want to compete, but at the end of the day, are you just going to let Vlad, walk? Or are you going to let, sure, you can move him at the deadline if you're not in contention, but I think you would be able to get more now for him instead of a team. And yeah, people are going to say, "Oh, well, it's the deadline. Teams will overpay." But it's like, I think you'd arguably get more now because it's a full season of Vlad. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting with Toronto here. I feel bad. In a way, I'm kind of happy because he's out of the American League East. But I don't know, man. I don't know, but let's see if there's anything else out there. Fabian Ardaya, it's a pairing that seemed likely from the outset and continues a takeover of Japanese baseball, of a Japanese baseball market that the franchise has targeted. Roki Sasaki signing with the Dodgers, right? Yeah. It's definitely something that seems like it's been in the works, for a while. I don't know. I've seen people out there put stuff like, "Oh, there's probably tampering involved here. They gotta investigate the Dodgers." Well, we'll see what the fallout is of that. Could anything pop up? I don't know, man. In the end, it's like the guy picked the Dodgers. I don't know. I don't think that's really all that big of a deal. But I see people saying all that. It looks like Ken Rosenthal was first. John Heyman was beat out by a matter of seconds. John Heyman was trying to get that out so quick, and it looks like Ken Rosenthal beat him out. Let's see, 6'11" for John Heyman. And then Ken Rosenthal, it looks like he got it out seconds before. You know what John Heyman was saying when he saw Ken Rosenthal beat him out.
I can't even believe it.
Can't even believe it. Can't even believe it. But listen, the Dodgers, I mean, how could you not pick them as a favorite? How could they not be a favorite right now in Major League Baseball? I don't see. I don't know, man. I mean, if you're looking at teams right now in the National League, I mean, anything could happen, when you get to the postseason. Obviously the Mets bringing in Soto, bringing in A.J. Minter today. The Phillies, obviously they got a lot of talent on that squad. Let's see what happens with the Padres here. The Padres, they were the ones that gave the Dodgers the most trouble. Diamondbacks, I think Diamondbacks are looking pretty solid here. I still think the National League is going to be very competitive. But gosh, man. Like this team is just looking it's looking pretty ridiculous. Like I just love it, like really how this team is built. You have impact players with Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. Teoscar Hernandez, you could say, is in that conversation too. And then you got guys near the bottom of the order that are going to be just like solid contributors that do other things well instead of just being big boppers like Ohtani and Betts and Freeman. Like Tommy Edman, a guy that can move around, give you great defense, a pretty solid bat at the bottom of the order. Someone like Hai-Sung Kim, who is a high contact guy, doesn't really strike out. He can move around as well. He's got speed. I mean, it's honestly just a pretty ridiculous team. A nice, well-rounded lineup, a deep starting pitching staff with Roki freaking Sasaki as your number 5. Like, what are we doing? I mean, and then a bullpen where Michael Kopech came over this past year. I mean, let's say this. With the Dodgers, I mean, are they even done? Or could we maybe even see something else here? I think you could argue they could use a high leverage guy at the back end of the bullpen. I know you're probably thinking, well, they don't need anything else. No, Robbie, how could they use anything else? How could they need anything else at this point? But if there was one other area where if you could add something, a high leverage lefty, maybe could make some sense. I mean, are they going to go out there and get Tanner Scott? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got to remember with Roki, it's not like they just dropped hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, how much? What was the contract? What's the contract for? Was it like $8 million, $7 million? I mean, they can go out there and still go get something. I don't know, man. This Dodgers team is looking stacked. It's pretty crazy. But wow, we were waiting on this, and I'm glad we got it done here today. We can now actually go into our weekend and enjoy a little something this weekend without having to pay attention to where is Roki gonna go. But in the end, the Dodgers, they're looking completely stacked at this point. I think you have to say the Dodgers. I know championships are not won in the offseason. They're not. They're won in the, obviously they're won in the postseason, right? You got to see what happens there. But if there is any team since that 98, 99, 2000 Yankees squads, I think the Dodgers, you have to say, they got the best shot of repeating here. I mean, if there is ever a time for a team to repeat, how is it not the Dodgers at this point? How is it not? I don't know. But I will say this. We now have a new... I don't want to say this like I'm because I'm not a Dodger hater by any means. I actually really respect what they're doing here. But if there is a team, because at the end of the day, just like in good storytelling, you need a good villain at the end of the day. If there is ever a team where, you wanted to root against, man, it's the high-powered Dodgers, because everyone's going to be gunning after them. They're the team to beat, right? Everyone's going to be trying to beat the Dodgers this year. They're going to have the target on their back, but I think they're going to be ready to go. I think they're just a disgusting team at this point. But again, like I said, National League, you do have some beef, right? Arizona, I still think, if they get into the postseason, they got some dudes here, especially now that you have Corbin Burns in the fold with Zach Gallen. Atlanta, I think they're gonna be healthier this year. Well, they should be at least. Ronald Acuna Jr. is gonna come back. Let's see how much rust he's gonna have after missing a lot of time. Let's see if they can stay healthy. But if they are, obviously there's a team full of talent. The Mets bringing in Juan Soto, of course. They've added some pretty nice pieces along the way. I don't know. Like I said with Philly, a lot of talent here in Philly. Brought in Jesus Luzardo for the rotation. San Diego, let's see what the team looks like. But they definitely took it to the end for the Dodgers in the division round. Who knows? Maybe in a team like, let's see what else the Giants do. I think if the Giants bring in Alonso, I think that could be pretty solid, man. I don't know. Like they're not the best team out there, but they're a team I wonder if they could get into the postseason, if they can make some noise. I don't know. There's a lot of competition in the National League, but in the end, I think the Dodgers, how could they not be the team to beat? They're going to be easily the betting favorites. But taking a look at the chat here, seeing what else we got here. Brian 35, the Braves can't do it anymore. I don't know. We got to see what happens with the health. Michael Dunn, Dodgers built a super team with their deferrals. Mets still have a higher payroll and a shell of a team, not just about money. Yeah, Michael, again, it is not just about the money. I think the Dodgers, they're just such a well-rounded, they've shown they're a very well-rounded organization at this point. Steven, this Dodgers team is loaded, but I'm saying it now. The Dodgers will be lucky to get one more World Series championship. Hey, in the end, you got to go out there and execute. All right, championships are not won in the offseason. Oh, and Brock, also Bobby Miller. I think you bring up. I'm a out of sight, out of mind kind of a guy, and Bobby Miller, I feel like, has not been in the equation here for a little while. What's going to happen with him? I don't know. Obviously, he completely turned into a shell of himself this past year, but this is a guy that was very good a couple of years ago. What do you do with him? I don't know. You have so much starting pitching here. So much. Matthew Martell with a $4.99 super chat. Dodgers fans have every right to celebrate. They also better be ready to get clowned on by every fan base every year that doesn't result in a World Series win. And the Dodgers, I think the best thing that they did for themselves is winning a World Series. Because they kind of have that monkey off their back now, and now they're going into a brand new season fully loaded. You know what I mean? Like, I think getting the monkey off their back and then improving as much as they have this offseason, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people are going to be picking the Dodgers this year. We'll see. And then Ryan Cook, Clayton Kershaw. Yeah. Sorry, I'm forgetting all these. It's ridiculous how many guys they got. It's ridiculous. Clayton Kershaw, again, out of sight, out of mind, right? When is he going to come back? But if he can come back and pitch a little bit, second half, I don't know. But I don't know, man. It is what it is. What a team they got. So, everyone, I'm going to wrap it up there. Just wanted to come on here and obviously react to the Roki Sasaki news And everyone, just want to thank you for coming by tonight. Really do appreciate that. Roki Sasaki finally is an LA Dodger. Everyone, if you can on the way out, hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you are new. We're trying to get to 50K by opening day. I would love you forever if you can do that for me. Everyone, go have yourself a good rest of your Friday night. And I'll talk to you next time.